right, so welcome to Music with Jake. I am your host, Jake, and today I have with me Scott Hakes of Bloodlust Media.
What is
So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm Bloodlust Media. I do a lot of booking and promotion in southwest side of Michigan. And currently the booking manager for Second Salem out of Detroit, Michigan. I'm also a close affiliate with Michigan Metal Fest. I have been since year one. And also, when it comes to booking, the primary booking of which I do is at the Music Factory in Meadow, Michigan.
Okay, the Music Factory, that is that the old Planet Rock perchance?
Yes, the old Planet Rock, Bojangles, and the U Bar. It's had
All
quite a
right.
few names throughout its entirety. As a matter of fact, it started out as a wood crafting shop, if I remember right.
So there's some history there in that building then I see.
Oh yeah, I know way too much about that building.
Is that really a bad thing though? I mean, I've been inside that place. That place seems to be pretty cool. I mean, there's bands like, Seven Dust and let's see, I think Boba Flex has been there a few times, and
Yep,
you just recently put on a few shows there too, didn't you?
I had quite a few shows there in 2023. The first one was the St. Patrick's Day Slaughter, which was being headlined by Throne and direct support from Let It Rot. Let It Rot is actually playing again this year with my old business partner doing the Yule, not the Yule Slaughter Fest, but St. Patrick's Day Slaughter. They're actually doing it again this year. And then after that, I had just kind of a one-off show with My Own Will and Cerebral Cortex out of Toledo, Ohio. And then after that, I didn't have a show of my own until the Michigan Metal Fest after party with Bro Job, Autumn Lies Buried, Abadonia, Realm of Shield. Feel like I'm forgetting somebody in there. Yes, I am.
I'm drawing a blank myself because I was there for that show, and that show was absolutely amazing.
It was fucking nuts. It was crazy. And then then I had Filth at the Music Factory for the Michigan Metal Fest Dark Christmas, and that thing sold out. That show sold out. As a matter of fact, I have the flyer hanging up back there.
I see that right next to the good old Ford sign. Good
Yeah.
old Michigan boy. All right, all right. So since we are on the eve of the loss to the 49ers last night, how do you feel about that, being a Michigander yourself?
Being 100% honest, I am not a sports ball person. I'm not very much into sports. It just hasn't been something I've ever really been too heavily interested in. Just because I'm so busy doing other stuff that it's hard for me to just try to pay attention to what's going on with sports ball. And I call it sports ball quite regularly. And it's nothing against any of the sports or that. It's just I'm one of those people, I'd rather be playing it than watching it.
That is definitely fair. I definitely agree with that. Though I am definitely an avid sports ball fan myself. You know, it's it's one of the few pleasures I guess I have anymore. So you've been in the music industry for a while. I met you for the first time a few years ago when you were running sound at a place called the Music Box in
Ugh.
Jackson. Was
Yeah.
it?
Yep, Jackson, Michigan, the Music Box. That
Oh
was
man.
that was an interesting time. I did get involved with that place just because another person who used to be a part of the company, they're like, well, I got this venue to book, and I'm like, okay, fuck it, we'll give it a fucking try. And needless to say, it isn't a bad place, but it isn't necessarily a great place.
That's fair. I tend to think that there are venues like that kind of everywhere. That kind of pigeonhole themselves to a certain genre of music,
Mm,
and tend to kind of stray or keep others away, um, which I'm not really a fan of, because a lot of these bands put a lot of time and effort into everything that they do, and it's not just them anymore. You have the road crews and you have the engineers, you have the front of house, you have all of these people who come together to put these shows together, and then when the venues are rude to them or just kind of, eh, I think it tends to affect not just, really the artist, but
mm,
the views of that venue. um like, a really hot topic these days I've noticed is venues wanting to take a cut of the merch sales, which, I mean, I'm not really a fan of, and I think a lot of artists aren't a fan of it either, because a lot of small time bands make their money not from the show itself, but from their merch sales. So when you have a venue come in and say, "Hey, we're taking 25% of your merch sales," or something, and they're a small band and they only sold $75 worth of merch, that hits hard,
mm,
and I think, I, I I don't know. I'm not a big fan of some of these venues. Now, I'm not bashing the Music Box by any means. I'm not bashing any of these venues. I'm not really name dropping any. I just know that I name dropped this place because it's where I first met you. And man, that night was cold, dude. That night
mm.
was
Cold,
frigid. Oh
cold.
my goodness.
The drive home
Yeah.
was terrifying. Oh my god, that was no. I would no. That's another reason I want to get back towards, closer to where I live versus Jackson. I mean, Jackson's only like to the Music Box from my house, it's only 45 minutes, but coming home from that show, it took me 3.5 hours to get home from that show.
See, that's just insane. I remember I work with a band called Realm of Sheol. Not trying to plug them or anything, but I do work with them as their manager. And we were in a beaten down Astro van.
That
And
was the Ford van? I thought it
yes,
was the Ford van.
it is the Ford, the Ford Astro. Yeah, yeah. Isn't
No,
that the Astro van?
Chevy
Huh?
has the Astro van. It's the Chevy Astro van you're thinking of.
Oh,
Ford.
that's what I'm thinking of. Okay, I'm thinking of the big, I'm just gonna call it the shaggin' wagon, bro. Because I mean, like, when you see those vans, that's what you think of, man. They have the blinds pulled down, the seats that go all the way back, the real nice. You can just rip out those bucket seats and you could just put a bed in there. It's a shaggin' wagon. And oh my goodness, man,
Oh
that
man.
trip was wild. Trying to load everything into that venue was just insane because we could only load in through the back, right? And of course, loading
Mhm.
in through the back, everything was frozen because we're in Michigan. It's the middle of the winter, and Michigan is absolutely terrible in the wintertime. I absolutely can't stand it. I love it in the summertime. It's gorgeous. But in the wintertime, it totally sucks unless you're skiing or snowboarding or you have some kind of recreational vehicle to play in the snow with. You don't want to go out in the crap. So we're trying to load everything in. We're slipping and sliding everywhere. And as soon as we get in, I see a guy walking around with a pot of coffee.
The
Do you
drummer,
recall that?
the drummer from fuck, I forgot.
Was
Tony
it
Gordon.
Fearless?
Yeah.
Fearless. That was the band. Yes.
Oh, God.
Plugging them, just, being nice because, support your local bands. We all got to start somewhere. But man, that was wild, just sitting back there. And I just see this guy walk by with a pot of coffee. I'm like, bro.
It
And he
was
was
just
offering everyone cup. Like, he was the nicest guy. He was offering people cups of coffee and stuff. Like, it was cool. But I was like, who brings coffee to a bar? Who brings his own coffee pot to a bar? I get it though. Mad respect for that guy. He was trying to stay sober and everything, which smart man, because the roads were, as you said, it took you 3 hours to get home. It was treacherous. You know, we were
Oh,
coming from Grand Rapids, and he was coming from Allegan. I think they came from Allegan. So, you know, they had a distance to travel. So,
oh,
yeah. But I met you when you were doing sound for that. How was it running sound? Like, how did you get into doing sound and got into management and what you do now and being a part of this awesome festival known as the Michigan Metal Fest?
this is gonna forever and forever back from like back when I was in high school. So when I was in high school, I was very much a drama and theater kid. And what I did in drama and theater is I was stage manager, stage crew, all that stuff. That's what I did. That's where I live. I never liked the spotlight. I just liked working in the back and just making the show happen. And then when I got out of high school, I kind of got away from the entertainment industry, went to college. And then when I was down in college, I actually got a job working at the Agora and the House of Blues in Cleveland.
Nice. So you actually worked at the House of Blues. How was that?
It was a fun venue. It was actually very high paced, very go go go, and I liked it a lot. But it was also I was also making enough money working like 2 days a week in college where I really didn't need to worry about much.
That's fair.
Then when I came back from college, the scene wasn't exactly it wasn't strong at the time. We had a very very, I guess you could say, dead metal scene in Michigan. And then as I was kind of watching from the outside, I was getting back more into metal music, and I got into more aggressive metal music. And then all of a sudden, I seen that they were talking about doing a metal fest at the Arboretum in Battle Creek, and I'm like, oh shit, cool! I'd love to be a part of that. And fucking, I ended up getting involved with it year one. Matter of fact, year one, I was only a security guard. Believe it or not, first year there, I was only a security guard. The only thing, and basically, I hated it. No disrespect to security, but I was bored out of my fucking mind. And then going to the second year of Metal Fest, I started. I was actually supposed to be ASM for the festival for main stage, but then ended up being needed to run main stage because something happened over at the other stage. So then I took over main stage literally 10 minutes before this thing started, and I'm going, shit. I was all panic and stuff, but luckily everybody, I mean, I got praise from Whitechapel, I got praise from Lorna Shore over it. And this was before Lorna Shore even got big. This is when they're still like a $500-$600 band.
Oh, and, wow.
Yeah.
So this was before Will Ramos came on and all that.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think it was in a transition year from Tom to CJ.
Oh wow, that does go back a little bit then.
Yeah.
That goes back quite a ways.
Well, because I think the first year of Metal Fest, Signs of the Swarm played.
Now that's a name that I like. That is an epic band. I need to catch them soon.
And then the next year, I'm still trying to figure out which era that was of Lorna Shore. I want to say it was Tom Barber Lorna Shore, but it may have been CJ McCreary Lorna Shore. Like I said, not 100% certain. But then, yeah, after that, I just took over running main stage for Metal Fest. And it's as much as it's grown, it's definitely become actually easier from my side. We've gotten more organized. I can actually kind of work things out a little bit better than the first year. In terms of doing like, you know, all the stage work, stage prep work, all that stuff, getting input lists, stage plots, all that fun stuff. All the stuff that, and honestly, at the same time, it allows me to help bands because, like, hey, if you don't have a stage plot, I'll send you over a blank stage plot for you, like, it just stage. You guys build this the way that you guys run your stage. You save it on hand for when you're going to this place or you're going to this place. You're setting up this tour or that tour, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, here's our stage input list." So in all actuality, it's been kind of nice that, and you know, with Steve, I've been able to take some of my knowledge from all the years of running stages and kind of put it to use in helping build the festival, along with having help with like Jesse Campbell, who's also extremely experienced. Um, Jesse Caswell, who's extremely experienced, and he's been, you know, we've both been trying to help Steve understand the stage side more, just because the stage side is very much a mysterious side to most people. As a matter of fact, most of us try to keep it like this secretive land, just because a lot of us do, you know, that's our fuel, that's our fire, and we just don't want, you know, anybody and everybody coming out and doing this because they think it's fun. It's just like, yes, it's fun, but at the same time, unless you're good under stress, you're not going to do good at the stage side.
That's fair. I've been backstage. I've seen the chaos that can go on back there. You know, a lot of people, a lot of fans think it's all parties and all that. And the reason I created this podcast is to rip away the veil, you know,
Mm,
that everyone has, that everyone is blinded by, because people thinks it's parties and it's just, you know, a good time in the back. And most of the time it's people run around without their heads because they're trying to get everything situated for the next band to go on or for the headliner to get ready.
mhm,
You know, having been backstage for this year's Michigan Metal Fest, it was chaos. I mean, it was very organized, but it was still, you know, an organized chaos because
mhm,
you had your load in times. You had to make sure your riders were correct. And you know, that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize is riders are very important. There
mhm,
was an incident that took place with within this moment last year at Upheaval where they did not play because their requests were not met, you know, per their rider. You know, their contractually their contractual obligations from Upheaval were not upheld for in this moment, so they did not play, which, you know, I that's another thing. Fans were upset. Now, this is where, you know, you and I and the rest of us who work behind the scenes come into play to kind of clarify these things. We have riders that are set up for, you know, the betterment of the show and for the artist and the crew and the fans and for the safety of everyone involved. You know, In
mhm,
This Moment is a very, very theatrical band. They're very theatrical. There's a lot of, you know, wardrobe changes and things like that, you know, and they need, you know, that space to be able to change, and they have to do it fast, you know, and they didn't
mhm,
have room for that. They didn't have room for their props, things like that. I guess a good way to explain it would be like, you know, if you didn't have the fire and safety stuff in place for a band like Rammstein, who
mhm,
uses a whole hell of a lot of pyro, right? If the rider wasn't, you know, adhered to, things could get very dangerous very quickly, you know? And again, so you have to think of the people backstage, you know, going on with, you know, the stage managers and the tour managers and, you know, everyone who does front of house sound and lighting and pyro and cryo and, you know, cryo and
mhm,
all of that. These are all very important aspects that a lot of people don't see, you know, and having been by your side at Michigan Metal Fest, I saw that you were helping to organize and get all of this stuff, you know, in to be really streamlined. So there weren't really any hiccups. The bands didn't really have any issues. They did their thing and then they were gone. Then the next band was coming on. So we had, a smooth transition for, the co-headliner and the headliners, which it was Upon a Burning Body and Born of Osiris, if I'm not mistaken, were the headliners for Michigan Metal Fest this year, right?
Yep.
And the transition for that was so smooth, so smooth. And I really admired that because, you guys were doing it in almost pitch dark at that point. It was so dark back there, because the Arboretum didn't really have any lights where we were, and you guys just had it so smooth, man. So kind of guide us through how you guys were able to do that, how you guys were able to make that transition from each band so smoothly without, even with people going back and forth, because I saw my fair share of drunken people walking back there and we're like, hey, you gotta get out of here, man. And even with all that chaos, you guys were still just smooth sailing. So kind of guide me through how you did that, if you don't mind me asking.
The important thing that and this goes back to year one Metal Fest building up to where we are now. So like for the first few years of Metal Fest, we did a split stage design. So basically, okay, let's just use this piece of mail as an example. Let's say this is your stage, right? We would have it divided in half, and we were running one band on each side of the stage all day until we got to the headlining bands, and then it'd be one whole stage. So for the first few years, we were running into the tangle of we didn't have enough mics. Like we only had one set of mics to mic both sides of the stage, which would create a snake pit by like the third or fourth band. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, a snake pit is when the cables just become so intertwined and tangled with each other, it looks like a pit of snakes. And it would cost us time. It would cost us a delay. It was getting nuts. And then it was a year Hatebreed headline. I can't fully remember if we did a split stage that year or not, but I know we did something different to the point where we were 45 minutes ahead by the time Head PE was coming on. And then this also comes down to the crew we had at the time. The crew we had at the time, we had like a lot of channels to work with for mics and all that stuff. And we were like, hey, we're having a problem with channel, I think it was 17 or 7. And it ended up, they wanted to figure out which channel it was versus swapping into another one and keeping our time, because by the time Head PE got started, we had fallen 10 minutes behind at that point, and we still had Chelsea Grin and Hatebreed to go. Needless to say, we no longer work with that company. We're not affiliated with them, just because of the lack of professionalism that they've had about every year. And then that year was kind of the breaking point. We did use them for the first year back after Metal Fest. But after that, we split ties just because, it was more difficult to work with them than it was anything between them not making local sound good. But then we got to this last year, and I shit you not, the crew that supplied the stage and the crew that supplied the sound system, they were just super cool, super on point. I just had my guys there going, oh, hey, cool, get this band up, get them on. And then the one thing that I told all of them is that we all need flashlights. And anybody who's interested in being a part of this industry, the first and most important thing you must get is a flashlight, because almost every venue you work in is going to be dark. Almost every venue, any place you work, at some point it's going to be dark. And my biggest recommendation is you go on Amazon for like 60, 70 bucks. You can get these little rechargeable streamlight, as we call them in my main profession, the automotive field, inspection lights. They're a flashlight that's all about that long, that narrow. They fit in your pocket. They have a pocket clip. And that's how we do a lot of our maneuvering around the stages is, having those flashlights to the point where they even become signals. Like you'll see somebody stand on the front of the stage trying to get a hold of the front of house with a flashlight doing this. Matter of fact, I got a flashlight somewhere. So like if we're trying to get the attention of front of house, we're gonna sit there and hit the light Oh, it just died. Oh, but we're gonna sit there and hit the flashlight, kind of like this, just to
I
get
always
front on.
wondered. I always wondered why you guys did that. Like I was that's one of those mysteries, because you do see people do that, in the middle of shows. You'll see them going and flashing, and you're just like, what are they doing? Usually I think it's for like security, because security does that too. They'll point someone out in the crowd, they'll jump up and like, hey, this is, get this guy or something. But I've also seen
Mhm.
crew do it too, so that definitely helps tear away some of the mystique or the mystery of that. So that is kind of nice to know. So now you guys know they're not just trying to blind you. Okay, there's a reason for them flashing the light into the crowd. There is a reason. That is the reason.
And the other purpose is like, you know, we do have radios most of the time so we can communicate with each other. But with all the noise going on in terms of, band sound checking, the crowd, and all that stuff, sometimes it's hard to get, people's attention on a radio, somebody who's on the other side of the stage. So you need them to be over there for what they need to do. You don't need them to come over to you just to go back to their side of the stage. So you bang them with the light real quick and then get their attention, and then you'd be like, point towards your ear. They'll be like, okay, that means radio. You hit them with the radio and be like, hey, I need you to go do this over there real quick. All right, cool. Now they know. That's when they know to pay attention to their ear versus, because most of us, and I'll be the first to admit it, we hear voices going off in there unless we directly like hear our name or we have somebody actually trying to physically get our attention. We don't pay attention to it because we're getting pulled this way, that way, doing 10, 15, 20 other things while, while we're trying to make this happen. So sometimes, like I said, the most valuable tool you can get working backstage, front of house, anywhere will always be a flashlight. And not this one. I'm just not a fan of battery powered flashlights anymore. And that's what this is. It's a little battery powered flashlight. But yeah, one of the Streamlight lights on Amazon, like I said, they're only like 60, 70, 80 bucks. They're not too terribly expensive, but definitely if you want to do something with this industry, it's something you need to have.
I have definitely seen the flashlights running around backstage when I'm in the crowd, and I'm just like, I wonder what they're doing. What's that? You just see the little bob and light for a minute, and then it goes away. Then you see it bob again, and then it goes away. So that kind of explains that. I mean, you definitely don't want to trip over cables, or anything like that, because there are cables strewn everywhere, and you don't have enough protectors to keep those things down on the ground. You're going to end up tripping over one of them if you're not paying attention, if you don't have a light or something. So that's that's just an inevitability and just something that comes with the territory and the job.
And
so
then
go ahead.
Another thing I always can't stress enough is there's a dress code for working backstage. Like if you're not a band or a band member, this goes for their crew, the festival's crew, stage crew, light crew, all that stuff is black. We all have to wear black because like if we're doing work on the wings, we're not trying to stick out like a sore thumb. So like wearing all black, we hide in the shadows. You'll see us run into each other a lot because, again, we're all wearing black, but it it helps keep the attention towards what everybody's there for, and that's the band.
That's definitely fair. I mean, it's definitely, yeah. I mean, also, you don't want to be mistaken for a member of the crowd or the audience who could have snuck backstage. I remember my first show I ever photographed because, besides doing this, I'm also a professional concert photographer and photojournalist. And I was working with Ginger. Well, I was photographing Ginger. I was actually I contacted my buddy Brad, who is the record label owner for the band All Hail the Yeti. And this was I want to say almost 3 years ago now. We were they were playing a show in Grand Rapids, and unfortunately, All Hail the Yeti ended up coming down with COVID, so I wasn't able to photograph them, which was kind of sad. But it was Ginger, Suicide Silence, and All Hail the Yeti. And I was a noob, total noob. I had never done a show before a day in my life. I had never photographed one, nothing like that. So I was fresh, man. I was fresh. And I didn't know about the little 3-song limit, right? Didn't know about it. Had no idea. So I stayed, longer than 3 songs for Suicide Silence. And shout out to Gigi. She was the tour manager for Suicide Silence at that point. And she came up to me, my buddy Tom Reardon. He's a guitar tech for Sum 41 and in this moment and stuff. He remembers this because he was there for this too. She screamed at me and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing, bro?" Like, no hate at you, Gigi. I understood, I got it, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm just here doing photographs. And I later found out that there was another guy from the press who had snuck backstage, and he wasn't supposed to be sneaking backstage. And I guess the week prior, someone had snuck back into Ginger's dressing room in Orlando. And so, she was screaming over the mic for that because, I mean, we've seen what happened with Dime, rest in peace, Dime, and crazed fans and stuff like that. So, security is a big thing. So, having a set attire for working backstage is crucial. Because otherwise you could be like the jagoff who tried to sneak backstage and then gets tackled because you're being stupid and you're putting everyone's safety in jeopardy and everything. But anyways, Gigi yelled at me. I learned a thing or two. Thank you. You opened my eyes, woman. Definitely opened my eyes. But that was my first real experience of the differences of what people wear when you're backstage or you're working a show. Everyone has their set attire. Crew has their set attire. The band has their set attire. The staff of the venue have their own set attire. Security has their set attire, and then there's the fans, so everyone kind of has their own little place. And I saw that at Michigan Metal Fest this year too. Loved the pink shirts, by the way. I don't know whose idea that was.
Security.
But it was awesome. I loved them. They were great. And they definitely made me giggle. Some of them made me giggle. I'm not going to lie. It was chef's kiss. Yes. You that's the thing, though. In the metal scene, I've noticed, in the metal scene in particular, is the only scene you will see big 300-pound fucking bodybuilder guys, big old beards, looking like they would just rip you to shreds. You fall down in the pit, they pick you up, or they'll give you a hug if you're feeling down or something there, and they're just giant teddy bears. We look scary. Well, not me. I don't know. I don't look scary at all. But, a lot of metalheads look scary. You, if I didn't know you and I saw you now, for anyone who doesn't know, Scott is freakishly tall and I am freakishly short. So, and if you go through my Facebook, which you guys may find, Jacob Dillon, you may very well find a photo of Scott holding me in the air like I'm a rag doll, which was absolutely great. That was for your birthday party, if I'm not mistaken. Great show. That was when I first met Second Salem, actually. That was a great show. It was awesome. I did not expect to be picked up like a rag doll at the end of the show, but I digress.
Before the show, right in front of the Music Factory, go on the front of the building.
It was
pictures for Realm in front of the fucking Music Factory logo, and you said, "Get in on this," and I just like picked you up, and I mean, I had you like this high.
Oh yeah, dude. I was like all the way up here, like I was hanging from you, like I was just hanging there like a rag doll. I don't know what the heck I was doing, but I mean, it was a good time. It was a good time, and that's one thing you can always count on at a metal show. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna meet some of the craziest people you've ever met in your life. But the metal shows, all the work that is put into to get them going is phenomenal. You know, a lot of people don't really understand just how much planning it takes to put these things on and how much stress everyone is under until the moment that the show is actually going on. And even then, you're stressed out the entire time until after the show. And then finally you can maybe breathe for about 5 minutes, and then you have to pack up and you have to get on to the next one, you know? And it's hard, you know, and a lot of the people who go to metal shows have very, you know, like I've seen you know, I'm digressing here again. ADHD moment. Woo! I met this guy. His name was Daniel. And it's when I was photographing Korn and Chevelle at the DTE. Totally awesome show, right? Like it was phenomenal. But I met this guy in the crowd, you know, and like this guy is like a high-end business guy, like super stiff, you know, high-end guy. You know, job is super stressful. I have never seen someone have so much fun at a show. You know, like just because like it's that time where people just get to cut loose. You know, people like, I wouldn't get myself into a mosh pit. You know, that looks scary. That looks dangerous. But it's really not that dangerous. You know, that's why you see Pikachus throwing themselves in mosh pits, or what was it? It was at the after party. The only time I've ever seen people bring out pool pool noodles and in rhythm beat the pool noodles.
Oh my
And just
God.
that was just so much fun, you know, and I absolutely love that. You will not find that energy anywhere else. You won't find it at a rap show. You won't find it at, you know, a hip hop show, a pop show, a country show. You won't find that kind of energy anywhere else. And it's why I love the metal and rock scene so much, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's the one place you can go and just fucking cut loose and no one's going to judge you unless you're one of those assholes who likes to crowd kill people. You know who I'm talking about. We don't like you. Be safe. Yeah, you're not one of those. I haven't seen you drop. Okay. And what I mean by crowd killing, Warp Tour. I want to say it was 2015. Carnifex. Girl was talking to her boyfriend. Now don't get hurt in the pit. Don't throw yourself in the pit. I swear I won't. 5 minutes later, you see a guy just come out of nowhere, just out of the corner of my eye. I see this guy just drop kicking, and this guy just gets clobbered in the face. Blood goes everywhere. Just, you know, literally geyser fountain, because dude got straight up WWE drop kicked into next Tuesday. And it was great. But at the same time, I was like, dude, like, there's little kids in this pit. Like, come on, like, no. And of course, after the show, a girl comes back up, you know, from, I want to say she was watching, I want to say it was like Mayday Parade. And she's just, oh man, laying into him, but the dude's just smiling ear to ear. And I'm like, that's what it's about right there, man. But don't crowd kill. There are kids in those pits too, man. Gotta be safe. You know, if your brother or sister falls in the pit, pick them up. Don't let them stay there. Pick them up.
The one thing I have noticed a lot post COVID when it comes to mosh pits, and I've noticed this from when I went and seen Lorna Shore at the Sanctuary in 21, and since then, is that the moshers have kind of separated themselves. Like for like half a song, the push pitters will come in, they'll push each other around, they'll get wild with each other, and then once it kind of dissipates, that's when you get the slam dancers coming in. And they'll slam dance, they'll hit each other and all that shit, but they keep it to themselves. And then the moment they're worn out, boom, back out. Here come the push pitters again. I've noticed they've gotten good with the cycles and stuff just to avoid, you know, the conflict of both of them getting together at the same time, which helps everybody involved. Because I mean, you'll get the two steppers out there, and then all of a sudden, here comes a motherfucker with a fucking haymaker of a leg across the fucking pit. And then those are the people I really don't care about. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're, swinging your arms and all that shit. I can avoid a fist. I can't avoid a fucking leg.
No,
They
no,
can
those
both
are the ones I'm talking about, man. The I'm a ninja, kicking people. I'm like, man, like, be careful. I love that you're having fun. I love that you're enjoying the show, but please be safe. Be safe.
Funny story. I think it was at Mulligan's Pub on New Year's Eve. Don't know who the dude was, but like this dude was just being a fucking prick in general around the edge of the pit. I'm pretty sure he was drunk and all that shit. Well, fucking like I was just sitting there minding my own business. I just hopped out of the pit. Next thing I know, I'm getting a boot across my face. And like my natural reaction, I turned around and grabbed it without even thinking about it. I just took this dude's leg and went, "Phoom," and I threw him on his ass. And I just kind of just turned back and started watching the show again. And fucking people started patting me on the shoulders and all this shit. I'm just like, what'd I do? He was just being a dick to me. He just kicked me across the face and I just put him on his ass. Like I really wanted to get up and get tough for a second because I knew how big he was. He was only like this big on.
Short man syndrome.
Uh-oh, sound cut out.
Hello?
There we go.
Yeah. Short man syndrome. I get it. Little person syndrome. I'm a little person. I get it. But don't expect me to come in thinking I'm Jackie Chan. Not happening. I'm not. I'm not just gonna come in, doing some drunken master shit. I mean, I've run into a few of those Mulligans. For those who don't know, Mulligan's Pub in GR, awesome little venue. I absolutely love it. They definitely cater to the local metal bands, local metal scene. It very welcoming bunch of people. If you're ever in GR, definitely check them out. Love those guys. Love that venue. Many shows have been played there that I've been involved with. I have booked many shows there that have all been ragers, and it's a good time. So definitely check that out. But do beware, there are some idiots who do like to come in, but that's just the music scene in general. You're gonna have idiots who come in and try and screw things up for people. But
Dude.
at the end of the day, we all come together, we all love each other, and hopefully y'all can hug it out when it's all said and done. Hopefully. That's not always the case, but
One of the first shows I actually booked at Mulligan's, this is when I was under another entertainment company. I booked Autumn Lies Buried in the Room. And it was their first show in Michigan. And that's actually where I met Sean. And it's where I met Sean. I'm not sure if it was Realm of Shield or the other band.
Which other band would it have been? It wasn't Orthros, so would it have been Constellation?
Nick
I don't remember Orthros ever playing Mulligans. No, we never played Mulligans because I'm the one who did the booking for
Tiganelli was a part of it. I do remember that much. Tiganelli was playing that night, and I think Sean was playing that night.
Color me confused. I'm not aware of this show. I love Sean. I love Sean's brother. His dad's an old techie too. Actually, his dad teched for Kevin Bacon and Kevin Bacon's country band. Yeah. How's that for? I mean, it's laughable, but I mean, that's still kind of cool. I mean, it's Kevin fucking Bacon. Like, come on. Like, that's pretty cool, dude.
I've actually worked with Bocephus's keyboardist. So
nice.
Those of you who don't know who Bocephus is, since we are talking about the metal scene, Bocephus is Hank Williams Jr. And fucking his keyboardist Jimmy Bones actually did like this one-off like blues show at the Music Factory. It's absolutely actually really cool. And that's one thing a lot of people don't understand about like the metal genre in total, is that there's a lot of us will listen to stuff outside of metal music, because a lot of us in the metal scene, we kind of get overwhelmed by our own music every once in a while, if you think about it, because all of our music is very intense emotion wise. So a lot of us have like a rap band or country band or some other genre of music that we listen to. It's just to kind of offset the chaos that we constantly listen to.
We all have our guilty pleasures. Backstreet Boys here. I'm not gonna lie. Actually, I want to say it was one of the last shows that I went to with Realm of Sheol. I was riding with my vocalist Natalie, Natalie McKay, also Phil Spear. Check her out. She's a monster. We were chilling in what she is dubbed Bumblebee. And you know, I'm just sitting in the back of the car, chilling, jamming out to Bloodhound Gang and Backstreet Boys, and they're up there listening to like Lorna Shore and Signs of the Swarm and just this really brutal, you know, music, and I'm just back there, oons, 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 you know, just oontis, just having a great old time. You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, you know, just having a great old time. And they just look back in the mirror and they just shake their head. I'm like, what? You know, because I know what's coming. You know, you do need to have that music to kind of offset the mood because actually, Clown's son said the exact same thing that you just said about needing music to offset what they play. A lot of metal bands, they will go out and play an absolutely brutal show, and then they'll go and they'll listen to rap. You know, that's what a lot of Vended actually listens to a lot when they're on the road after shows, is they will listen to rap and stuff rather than heavy metal because they just got done playing heavy metal, you know, for an hour and a half. So like I get it. You need that time to really decompress from your main genre of music, I guess.
My guilty pleasure, and I think a lot of people won't find this as a shock, but they also might find it as a shock as well. But like a lot of what I listen to outside of, you know, metal music, I do listen to like a lot of like gothic rockabilly blue, all that stuff, like, and some country music, but it's not like that poppy modern, you know, happy country music. Like Coulter Wall is an artist of mine that I really like listening to. A band out of Michigan here, Colt Snuffer and the Dead Horsemen, which has Larry from Iron Sharpens Iron on drums. And they're a gothic country blues band. I love their sound. I love the lyrics. I mean, it's kind of got this eerie, creepy vibe to it, but it's super chill, super relaxing. It just makes you just kind of like, okay, yeah, this is a good vibe. And then like Cody Jinks and his rock band Kane by Nod. Fucking love Cody Jinks. I like all the country artists that definitely just kind of keep like the soul to country music versus this modern country music that just has no soul in it. Like,
That
and in all honesty, I feel like the musicians that have like multiple genres that they listen to are more likely to prosper as musicians versus somebody who's kind of an elitist to one single genre. Just because I mean, especially nowadays, you gotta have multiple influences and multiple genres to put into your own sound in metal music, because metal music has become so diverse amongst, you know, multiple genres, you know, with the new metal resurgence and it being included in metalcore and deathcore. Now we got the black and deathcore. Now we're seeing a, you know, resurgence of hardcore with new metal elements. So like a lot of what we're seeing now is, you know, not only a new metal resurgence, but we're starting to see a lot of hip hop influence and, you know, rap influence into the metal genre more than we did on the original new metal craze.
one of the bands that's, you know, been taking everyone by storm, that you bring up, you know, like the new metal and like the rap and all that and like the hip hop kind of sounds. Your thoughts on the band Sleep Token? I mean, they definitely have a unique sound. I will give them that.
I'm not a fan personally, and it's nothing against the band. It's nothing against the way they sound. It's just I'm kind of the same way with Lorna Shore now. Just everybody overdid it so quick that I just didn't give a fuck to listen to it. like I listened to Lorna Shore because I was listening to Lorna Shore before way back when they played Metal Fest. I started listening to them after that through the Immortal album, through all the bullshit with CJ, and then I did absolutely love the And I Return to Nothingness EP, and by the time Pain Remains came out, I started getting burnt out of Lorna Shore. And then all of a sudden, just between Lorna Shore, Sleep Token, and Slaughter to Prevail, like I'm just kind of burnt out of all three of the bands because like they get so over pushed and so overdone that it's just it kind of takes the hype away from them for me.
That is definitely fair. Yeah, I can agree with that. I try and avoid the bandwagon, the stigma, I guess. But I do try and give everyone, a fair listen. Just because we're all trying to make it, in some sense, in some way, in this ever evolving scene, this culture of music, because it's constantly evolving,
Mhm.
but now, in a sense, I feel like it's becoming congested. I think that the musical scene is becoming congested. I think that a lot of sounds are becoming a lot of bands are starting to sound similar. Um,
Yeah, and
if
that's the one thing that has been a problem for a long time in this industry, and it goes all the way back to the '80s if you think about it. Because we had the glam metal resurgence where everybody's trying to sound like Motley Crue, they're trying to sound like Kiss, they're trying to sound like Poison, they had poofy hair, big style, and it gets congested. And then we hit the '90s where everybody was trying to be the next big grunge band. And then you had the early thousands where everybody is being the fucking trying to be the top new metal band. And then we hit the mids where everybody's trying to be the top metalcore band. Everybody started sounding like each other in all those, and now we're just hitting the same area again, where we're just getting out of everybody's trying to be the next bigger Lorna Shore. That's what
right,
everybody was from like 2020 until now. Now everybody's gunning after the next big, rap infused hardcore band.
do you think that's a reason that the band Limp Bizkit is having a resurgence in popularity, or do you think that's
Definitely
just
think
because of
so.
Brad?
I definitely think so. And I think a lot of the new metal resurgence actually came off of Fred Durst being a meme, and then everybody was just kind of like, we did actually used to kind of like this shit, so why are we bashing the dude? When in all actuality, he was actually pretty good, and he was the soundtrack for a lot of us.
That he was another band that everyone has shit on, but I have seen recently, they've completely sold out their shows. Creed.
I fucked with
Creed.
Creed. I ain't even gonna fucking lie. I fucked with
I
Creed.
I still do. I've seen Scott Stapp in his solo act, and I love Tremonti. I've seen Tremonti in his solo act, and I've seen Alter Bridge. I love them. They're a great band. Yes, that halftime show was absolutely horrendous. But that was the
Fun.
early 2000s, man. That's what it was about, like it was, anyone who grew up, experiencing the Y2K totally knows what I'm talking about.
I actually
Oh
got to work
man.
with Scott Stapp at the Music Factory, and the lineup he came through was absolutely phenomenal. It was Art of Anarchy, which had um Scott, is it Scott or Ron? Bumblefoot,
Mm,
ex Guns N' Roses.
hmm
Um, I forgot the twins' names off the top of my head, and then the bassist of Disturbed.
I love his basses. He actually used to play the Trabans back in the day. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I absolutely love the bass guitars that he plays. So yeah, I know who you're talking about, man. Yeah, I mean Scott Stapp, you know, eh, he's had his demons. You know, most musicians do. That's why we get into music, is because you know it's our escape, it's our outlet. You know, so I think that's a big reason. You know, even for all his faults and everything, he still seems like a pretty upright dude. You know, pretty outstanding individual. You know, and I've found that a lot of people who work behind the scenes really are. Uh, you know, and a lot of techs and whatnot are musicians. You yourself, you're a vocalist, right? I
Mhm.
mean, you do vocals, and stuff. My buddy, Sean, Carpenter, he is, you know, a tech with guitars and, you know, also a phenomenal guitarist, you know, things like that. It's funny how everything just kind of, you know, melds together, you know, and forms a just kind of a feeling of unity in music. Music is the universal language. It
It
really is.
really, it really is. Like, there's, I mean, my, the girlfriend and I will go back and forth for an entire day sharing songs back and forth just because, like, we do have a baseline of songs that we do like, that we both like, but like, she's also very like, she's very alternative. She's not alternative metal or alternative rock. She's just very alternative, like your typo negatives and all that stuff. The not so aggressive stuff, but very, very chill sounding music. And
Okay,
then,
so I
and
think of
then
alternative and I think of Silverchair. I think of Silverchair. I think of, you know, like even Third Eye Blind, you know, could be
there's
considered
some
alternative.
there's there's some band she sent me that I'm like, I didn't even know this was a band, and then like she's like, yeah, they have so many listeners, and then like I'll send her like, oh, I'm on a rockabilly craze this day. Here's some goddamn gallows, and she'll be like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, I know, right? It fucks with your head.
Oh man. Uh Shoot, looks like our time is about up, man.
Yeah,
So
I'm going.
I'm gonna thank you for coming on to the show, speaking with me, kind of elaborating what it is like to help run a show and to get everything together, and what you really have to do, um as you know, like a stage manager, to kind of navigate the chaos that is putting together a large scale show. So I want to thank you for that. And again, I'm Jake, and my guest today was Scott Hakes of Bloodlust Media. Check him out on Facebook. Give him a shout out if you're ever in. There you go. If you're ever in the Battle Creek area, go check out the Music Factory. Say hi to Papa Jeff Harris for me. Good guy, awesome guy. And with that, I'll see
I
you
also
guys
want to
next
give a
time.
shout out to Merciless Booking and Promotions, great homies of mine out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Another huge booking agency here in Southwest Michigan. I'll be doing a lot of work with them in 2024.
Eric Boyson, give him some love. All right.